Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Today is a new day, new day, new day. And I can see a new way, new way, new way. It's gonna be good, gonna be good, gonna be good. 'Cause everything is new today. Today's made of soft play, soft play, soft play. And I can shake it my way, my way, my way. It's gonna be good, gonna be good, gonna be good. 'Cause everything is new today.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. See you. So, testing, testing. No testing? Take off your mask.
No, it's fine.
Now you can hear me? Hello?
It's off again.
All righty.
No.
No? I will use my very loud teacher voice. While the solution rolls out. So, good morning. My name is Vanessa Valenzuela, and I'm a practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces, where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. So, I want to welcome anyone visiting for the first time. Oh, yeah. And there are packets on the tables going out either of these doors, so please pick up a welcome to CSL packet. And please make sure that your phones are on vibrate, or you can turn them off. We're preparing for upcoming events. And there is early registration for CSL convention until the end of November. That occurs in January, I believe in January, and it's in California. So we are also, once again, having our coat rack outside of the center, so people who are in need of a warm coat, or even scarves or hats, please, if you'd like to donate, we will accept them. And it's been so successful over the last 2 or 3 years, both ways, giving and receiving, and that's how we know that this principle works, right? Love circulation. There is a Ren Fair sign up right to your right as you walk out of the door. We are still needing some help from 2 to 5 p.m. And it is the first weekend in November, so 2 weeks from this weekend. And yeah, and then we get free admission, and we get to go see all the wonderful Ren Fair, and it's their 50th anniversary. You can tell I taught kindergarten because I was taught. We believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment or service prayer. There are prayer requests in the chairs in front of you or in back of you. There is a God can at the table as you walk out into the social hall. Please leave your request there we have a prayer request button on our amazing website that was updated in the last few months. And our prayer team here in Las Cruces is made up of practitioners and ministers from the 4 local New Thought communities. We pray with you for your requests and your intentions. In addition, should you have something you would like a quick prayer treatment for, I invite you to hang out after service, and those of us, the practitioners who have their stoles on, will be up here in front, ready to give you and ourselves a prayer treatment for your intentions. So please visit us this morning. It gets awfully lonely up here after service. And now, it is time for some silence.
Wait. Mute it. Unmute it.
And prayer. That's how powerful prayer is.
Love. In this moment, I am love. Love is this moment. Love, love, love. This moment is what I am. One in this moment, I am one. One is this moment. One, one. This moment is what I am. In this moment, I am still. Still is this moment. Still, still, still. This moment is what I am.
And so as we start this sacred time this morning, afternoon or evening, if you're catching us on YouTube, I just can feel the energy of love, serenity, and peace flowing through each and every one of us. That our hearts are open and our thoughts are blessed. And we recognize and remember and know and have faith in that there is one divine creative mind, God, Spirit, that flows in, through, and around us and is always, always active through us. And so we just open this time knowing that oneness of heart, that blessing of love, and that power of prayer. And so it is. The first reading this morning are lyrics from a song, You'll Never Walk Alone, by Oscar Hammerstein II. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. And don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain. Though your dreams be tossed and blown, walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. The next reading is from The Science of Mind. Took too long of a breath there, apologies. The Science of Mind, page 368 and 369. We give only what we have, the only shadow we cast of ourselves. This shadow lengthens as we realize the great presence in which we live, move, and have our being. Who would entertain the Christ must invite him. He does not come unbidden, nor sit at any man's table an unwelcome guest. Neither does the divine presence force itself upon any. He stands at the door and knocks. We must open if we are to receive. But how can we receive unless we first believe? We must believe that Christ indwells our own lives and stimulates all of our actions, for without him, we can do nothing. To realize within oneself a divine presence, a perfect person, is to recognize the Christ. No man ever walks life's road alone. There is ever another who walks with him. This is his inner self, the undying reality, which his personality but poorly emulates. Let us learn to be still and let the truth speak through us. To be still and know that the inner light shines. And so it is.
One, two. Sometimes in our life, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for maybe I'll fill those of your needs and that you can let show.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Right up the road, I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So just call on me, brother, when you need a friend. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Call me when you need a friend.
Call me.
Oh, people now call me when you need a friend.
Call me.
Oh, yeah, call me when you need a friend. Call me, just call me.
Thank you. Did you hear that? Play it again, they said.
I can't see the lyrics for some reason.
Oh, boy. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for the music. What a morning it's already been. Good morning. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center in Las Cruces. And before I start, I have a shout out to make to a couple people. We are being graced by the presence of Reverend G. Stewart and Reverend Ed Tansey. Welcome as they're passing from Boston on their way to California. So I feel honored to have them in our presence. And I also want to acknowledge some friends that are visiting me from out of state, Carrie and Crayola, England. They are here to help me get some things done around the house, to visit. And if you've seen that "So It Is" sign above my door to my office, Crayola made that for me. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have them here. Well, this month, we've been looking at going further together. And at the beginning of the month, I asked that question, where are we going together? And we thought about possibly we're going through life together, or we're going toward the goal that our centers have as a larger vision. We're going toward that world that works for everyone together. And so I've been considering it, contemplating it. I'm sure you all have, because that's been our topic this month. And it came to me that there might be another place, so to speak, that we are going together. In our teaching, we teach that heaven is a state of consciousness and we create heaven here on earth. Ernest Holmes said in Words That Heal Today, Jesus implies that no one can enter the kingdom of God without desiring to take all others with him. The kingdom of God into which he invites us to enter is that realm of pure spirit, which includes everyone. It is a unity of good. It is one of the supreme tests of the integrity of our spiritual conviction that we desire and permit this inclusiveness. And from Think Your Troubles Away in 1963, Ernest Holmes said, the kingdom of heaven must be a state wherein one senses unity with good, the unity of all people with good. The kingdom of heaven is not a place, but a state of consciousness. So we could probably say that we are all going to the kingdom of heaven together. We will get further, we will create that as we move there in unison together. Last week, Peggy reminded us of the power that comes when we gather in a group. And she referenced Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of Eight. And I think she's even started to work with some people to get a group going. And that reminded me then of the words from the master teacher Jesus, when two or more are gathered, that power of bringing people together. And Ernest Holmes always talks about the power that we have within from our unity with the one. So there's still a connection, there's a wholeness that we are one with that brings about this deeper power. Lilianne, when she talked, shared about the research that's been done, that they found that there is more light emitted from us when we are doing work and thinking about and setting an intention for someone else, when we're focused on another and not just on ourselves. And then from the Beverly Hills lectures, Ernest Holmes says, and at this point he's talking about treating someone who thinks they don't have any friends, someone who wants more friends in their life. And he says, while you're treating them to attract friends, treat them to know they are one with all people. Then there will be a healing. The other is a cure. A cure is good, but a healing is permanent. And so he makes a distinction between healing and cure. And the healing comes from that awareness that we are all one, that we are connected, that pulling together the unity that we are. So the more I contemplated what the speakers earlier in the month have said and what I've heard over the years, it really started to sink in that there's nothing that we do in a void. No matter whether you live alone or not, or no matter how different you might feel from other people, no matter how detached or isolated you might have felt over this last year and a half, no matter how separate you might be in your physical being from others, that thread of unity is still really strong, and we really are all connected. We are all one. So no matter how it feels sometimes, we never walk alone. We're never separate from that indwelling spirit that's within each and every one of us. And what we do impacts other people. Lately, we've heard a lot about people really wanting to defend their individual rights. And of course, I'm all for us having rights. And I believe we need to think about when we are defending this right for ourselves, how does it ripple out and impact others? When we only want to serve ourselves and we forget our connection with others, we often forget that it's a two-way street as well. So what they're doing is going to impact us. What we're doing is going to impact them. And so I think it's important to remember that outward connection. It's not just that connection we have with the divine, our oneness with the all, but in the words of the song that I had Teresa read for you, you'll never walk alone, I believe is true for two reasons. The first is that internal indwelling spirit that's always with us. And the second is the external, each and every one of us who are part of our lives, whether we see them or not, whether we realize that what is happening in their life impacts us and what's happening in our life is going to impact them. And since we've more recently come out of that state of isolation and staying home, I have really realized how strong that urge to gather has been in many of us. We came up with all kinds of ways to connect when we were in our separate homes and dwellings. And then I realized it's sort of like, as I look back in my life, over a long time in my life, it reminded me of the story of the prodigal son, that no matter how far I'd wandered off track from whatever I thought I was intending to do or wanted to do, and no matter how alone I felt in the world, no matter how isolated I might have felt, either because of bad choices that I might have made or something like the pandemic, and even the grief that I've been experiencing over this last year, where you just want to curl up in a ball and say, everybody leave me alone, even through that, there's something deep within that calls us all back to the so-called Father's house, to that awareness of our oneness, of our connectedness, the realization that we really are all part of a whole, that we're not alone. And the song says, with hope in your heart, you never walk alone. So I looked up what Ernest Holmes had to say about hope, and I think it's very interesting because in Ernest Holmes' mind, hope was not exactly the be-all, end-all. He was looking at things like faith, knowing, and conviction as having the power. And hope was kind of like a stepping stone to get us to that place where we really knew something was true. So I see hope as kind of like this little flame, that flame that's within us, that place that allows us to connect, move into connection again, but it's just the beginning as we allow ourselves to open up more fully to a deeper awareness of the truth, like Peggy was saying last week, of who we are. So consider these words. I hope we are all one. I know we are all one. I hope I never walk alone. I know I never walk alone. So you can see what Ernest Holmes was looking at. The power of knowing, moving us beyond just hoping. And so recently, I had an interesting experience. We celebrated what was called Columbus Day, and we're now looking at as Indigenous Peoples Day. And I posted on Facebook, I reposted. It was a nice Native American looking picture, and it said, "You are on native land." And the responses I got were very interesting. My intent was to honor those who lived on this land before the white people arrived, or people from other lands arrived. So one of the people's responses was, honoring those who will come after us. And I said, yes, I think we can do both. I think we can honor those who have gone before, and we can honor those who will come after us. And then the response was, well, I tend to look at the future more than to the past, which can't be changed. I thought, well, that's true. That's very true. And I realized that one of my favorite statements of Ernest Holmes is, principle is not bound by precedent. And if you want to find it, it's in Science of Mind text 162. But that every moment is a new moment, that we can create in this very moment, and it doesn't have to depend on what's gone before us. And yet, at the same time, I believe we stand on the shoulders of many people who have gone before us. Ernest Holmes shared his insights with us in the past, and they still inspire us today. And Ernest Holmes studied ancient wisdom texts and philosophers and brought their truths forward into this new thought era where we were looking at things a little differently, but still bringing those teachings and truths forward. So to me, honoring our past and those who were in it doesn't mean that I'm walking backwards, not looking ahead, and it doesn't mean to me that I'm wallowing in the past or ignoring what is or what could be, but rather for me, it's how do I glean the lessons from what has happened in the past so I can discern what has worked and what hasn't worked, and what we stand on now, what I want to stand on, and what can support me and us and uplift us as we do dream and vision and create our future. In many ways, I believe we never walk alone because our ancestors are also walking with us. If you think about what our lives are built on, just think about mobility for a moment as we move from horses to different types of cars, and now they're even trying to come up with cars that'll drive themselves. And I know I'm going to sound old-fashioned someday, going, that's impossible, you know. They've already done it, right? And then we think about how we illuminate our space, from candles to light bulbs, and now we're getting solar energy. We're changing how light bulbs work, how we illuminate our space, and how we get information. It used to be oral tradition, then we had written and books. I still love my books. And now internet, laptop, our phones. How do we get information? That's evolved and changed. So Jesse Jennings ended one of his daily readings for this month in the Science of Mind magazine with this affirmation. I know in the house of experience in which I live, the host is God and all people are guests. Now, I love that concept of living in the house of experience. So we have this experience that we live with and that we build off of as we move forward. So as we think about everything around us, everything that you get to enjoy in your life, and where it's been and how it's come to be today. I think I've shared before that one of my favorite rides in Disneyland was the carousel in Tomorrowland. I don't think it's there anymore, but they were different rooms and the chairs would move and you would see different stages set up and you'd see how the GE had developed new things that we used in our homes and created, and how that had evolved. And as you moved from scene to scene, the song was, "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow at the end of every day." And I realized I loved it. I loved to see the evolution of things that we used. And I also know that that evolution did not just pop out of thin air. That what was developed in this little section of Tomorrowland was evolved from what was before. And where we were going is going to evolve from where we are today. All of those things helped us to create what it is that we're experiencing and what we're going to walk into. And so in that way, I feel like we're also not alone. Consider then, as you go through your day, giving thanks to all who have created and helped to create the things that we experience right now. All that went into maybe bringing a meal to you, or a vehicle that you use, or the home that you live on, the place that you sleep in, whether there's heating and cooling, storage for our food. All of these are people that in some way or another are walking with us as we go through our day. And I was thinking that even if you start to feel lonely ever, if you looked around and started giving thanks for all the people that impacted your experience, all the things, again, that you see and enjoy around you, and could feel your unison with them, the God in them, the God in you that's expressing, that might help alleviate some of that loneliness, because we really are not alone. And as we open our minds to that, we can maybe experience it on a different level. Now, I've been talking about all the good stuff that comes from our past that's worthy to stand on. And I do realize that sometimes there's baggage that we carry from our past as well. Things that might need to be released, things that we don't want to carry forward. Often they're in the forms of a hidden belief, something we've picked up either about ourselves or something in the world that's not true or isn't the essence of truth, that maybe no longer serves us, that we've picked up from what Ernest Holmes called race consciousness. And this last month unearthed in me some baggage. So now it's true confessions time. When Reverend Sam and Nancy's daughter, Amy, called me to ask me to participate in their memorial, and then informed me that it would take place at the Methodist Church and Reverend Greg from the Methodist Church would be presiding, I admit that I got a little nervous. I'm like, okay, I don't know this guy. We arranged to meet. She told me he would call me, and eventually I called him because it was getting closer. We set a date, and then we had to change it because he actually had 6 memorials he was planning for. So we did finally meet, and on my way to meet him for lunch, I literally did a Science of Mind treatment, and it was based in the concept of let me like him. I wanted to connect. I wanted to feel like the person I was doing this memorial with, since I loved Reverend Sam and Nancy, I wanted to feel a connection with the person that I was doing the memorial with. Well, we had a lovely lunch meeting. I feel like I've made a new friend in him. So where's the true confession in that? Well, our second meeting, he invited me to go down to the church to see the space that we were going to have the memorial in. And they took me to his office, and we walked through the office spaces where there were staff people working in different offices running the church. We walked into this beautiful, big wooden sanctuary with tall ceilings, rows and rows of pews. And then there was the platform area and a whole choir loft behind. And I was looking around, and the thought went through my head, wow, a real church and a real minister. Yeah, their eyebrows went up. You know what I'm saying back there. I went, whoa, where did that thought come from? And I had to think about it. You know, I realized something was percolating that was deep in there. And I had to work with it for a few days. And I realized, first of all, when I determined that I wanted to be a minister back in high school, I was told women are not ministers. So there was that piece that was rolling around in there. And then we, as a movement, call ourselves the Centers for Spiritual Living now. We've been moving away from using the word church. We've been trying to reinvent what church experience looks like to better meet the needs of people today. And so I think on some level, somewhere in there, I was kind of feeling like I wasn't the real deal. You know, that it was something a little off. And then another memory popped into my head. As I was separating from my son's other mother, he said to me, "But I thought we had the perfect family." And I remember thinking when he said that, wow, he's grown up to think we're the perfect family, and I still feel like we're a family that's not even recognized by society. I hadn't accepted the fact that we were a real family on a deep level. Not the way I acted. We acted like a real family. But it was something deep. And it was that same kind of deep place that thought came from when I walked into that big church. And so I had to really think about, what does it mean to be the real deal? So when I read these words, again from Ernest Holmes, they really rang true to me. When we learn to start from where we now are, and forgetting our old patterns of thought, which have limited us, begin to enlarge them to increase our belief and faith, and to accept a greater good daily, we shall soon realize we are dealing with an actual force. We are so intimately connected with the universal creative God power that it is impossible to get away from it. That idea of starting where we are, but then expanding our thinking to take in something greater. And I realized that what Peggy was talking about last week when she said it's time for us to dive deeper into our consciousness. And that's what I felt like I needed to do, was dive deeper in there to unearth some of those hidden beliefs of unworthiness, of not being the real deal, whatever was underneath in there. And I realized I needed to do it on an individual level, and also on the level of being a part of this spiritual community. That we can step more fully into the real deal that we are. That we are God expressing, and God is the real deal, and so God is expressing through us as the real deal. And then I took a harder look at what's going on in the world around me today. And I realized that the beauty is that families like what I had now can have legal recognition. And I realized the beauty of the interactions that I had had with two mainstream ministers here in town over the last month. Excuse me. I met with the new minister at First Christian Church, Reverend Bethany Meyer, and with Pastor Greg from the Methodist Church, and both times I felt a real connection. I felt like they also believe, as I do, that we all go further together, whatever path we're on. I felt openness and acceptance, and they even shared with me how metaphysics plays a role in what they teach today. And so that culminated then as we had the memorial for Reverend Sam and Nancy. I had someone come up to me who said, "I am so glad that you are a part of this service." She said, "I grew up in this community. I grew up in this church. And when my parents died, I asked to have Reverend Sam be able to say a few words at their memorial, and the pastor at that time wouldn't allow it." And she said, "I'm so grateful that he's willing to let you speak." And it wasn't that he just let me, he was so excited to participate in this with me. He even went on our website and watched some of our talks. He wanted to know what we were about, what we taught, and he was ready to talk to me when we got together with lunch. And that just made me feel like, wow, this is a different era. We're at a different time when people really see that we do all move further together. I feel like we are going to enter that kingdom of heaven together. All of us, not just our little community, the larger picture. And that we do go further together. A lot has changed in the thinking out there and in our own thinking, and the changes in that thinking has brought about changes in what we see, what's manifesting in the world. And so the article that Margaret Stortz has in this month's Science of Mind magazine really spoke to me as well. The article is called Clear, the Value of Clear Thinking. And she said, we cannot capture every thought that makes its way to our thinking processes, but we can take greater care about the kinds of concentrations we manage. What's important to remember is that only we can do this for ourselves. Others may offer helpful formulas and ways to think, but they cannot think for us because we are individualized in our use of mind with a capital M and can only really be limited by ourselves. And what I got from that in the rest of her article was that we are also walking with our mind and our thoughts. She was basically saying we are never separated from that, what's going on in our head. And so in that sense, we are walking with what is creating what we are walking into as well. And so my question then was, what kind of walking companion are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts creating for you to walk into? You walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. Those words just kept going over and over in my head this last couple weeks. And I realized that long ago, my hope was, and it was only a hope, I really never thought I'd see the day. My hope was that all who create families in love would be recognized and supported as family. And my other hope has been throughout the years that all of us from different faiths could interact and support and connect with each other. And so both of these things have been realized now. They're more than just a hope. So as we move and evolve, as our thoughts transform from hope to faith to knowing to a deep conviction, I can honestly say that we are all in this together, all of us, not just again in this room, but everyone. That we are going further together and that we are the real deal. Each one of us, we are the real deal, and we really and truly never walk alone. And so it is. So I'm going to ask the practitioners to please surround this room, and the ministers, if you'd like to join them, you can, or you can just participate as you feel. And let's just move into prayer. So just breathe into that heart space, the place where Spirit is dwelling, indwelling, as it moves in and through all of your beingness. The wholeness, the oneness with which we are forever connected and can never separate ourselves from. The love that moves in and through us, connecting us to every person in this room, every person in our community and beyond. And it is with a grateful heart that I open my awareness to that greater connection, that we are on different paths from different people and different traditions and different ways of life, and yet we are all moving forward together. We are creating our future together. We are stepping into our future together. And every single one of us as an expression of God is the real deal. And so I uplift each and every one of us in this room to a greater awareness of that deeper truth. As we open our hearts and give thanks for this time together, this coming together, and for each person who showed up here today to hear these words that Spirit chose to speak through me to all of you through this experience. I am so very grateful. And so I know that all is well. that what was once a hope is now a deep and true experience. And so we lift our hopes into knowingness. And we know that these words are lifted into the law and manifest. And so we give great thanks as together we say, and so it is. Thank you, practitioners and ministers.
I am in the darkness. I am in the light. Oh, see me if you can. Everywhere I am dwelling in the sunshine, dwelling in the shadows, dwelling in believers and in folks who don't know. I am all appearing. I am all invisible. I am in the highest. Oh yeah, I am in the very low. I tell you that I am in the highest. I am all invisible. I am in the highest. I am in the very low. Glory God appearing, glory God invisible, glory in the highest, glory, glory God below, glory in the highest, glory, glory God above, glory God invisible, glory, glory God below. Ay, 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 yeah.
Thank you. Thank you again, and thank you to Ricky Byers for that one, right? Thank you. Well, now is that opportunity that we have to give, and we are still not passing things hand to hand, so there are collection plates in the back that we gratefully receive all that you want to offer today. And we will be sharing 10% of all that comes through the center this month. We still have another Sunday yet as well, with Safe Haven Animal Sanctuary. And like I've said before, we are one with the animals as well as with all the people on this planet. And Safe Haven strives to be a leader in the care and placement of cats and dogs as animal companions in nurturing homes. It is a no-kill, nonprofit adoption center seeking permanent and responsible homes for abandoned cats and dogs while caring for them and promoting humane pet care behaviors. And so it is our gratitude to be able to give to them 10% of all that comes through. So if you'll just repeat after me, divine love through me. blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, in me. And we will sing, I am so blessed.
We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
Thank you all. I always feel so blessed just being here with all of you. And next week, we will have Reverend Kamatara visiting to speak with us from Albuquerque. And she asked me to let you know that since it will be Dia de los Muertos and Halloween, she's going to set up an offering altar. And so if you want to bring something, you can bring it with you to either place on the altar or to hold with you, as she will incorporate that into part of the service for next week. So we'll put that in the newsletter as well, but she asked me to invite you all to bring something special to you, whether it's a memory of someone or something for the altar next week. So at this point, we will stand and sing our closing song and just send that energy out. We aren't holding hands yet again, so.
I live here in peace. I step out in love. I know everything I need is part of me. And I will not speak until I first think. Is it kind and true and needed? One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now. I leave here in peace. I step out in love. I know everything I need is part of me. And I will not speak until I first think. Is it kind and true I need it? One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now.
And remember, your practitioners are more than happy to help you step into that real deal that you are.